Hey guys, and welcome back. So I just wanted to take a quick moment, which is not going to be a quick moment, let's face it, because I could speak for Ireland, but I wanted to do a little YouTube rewind of my own personal highlights and lowlights of the year, because I'm sure we can all agree it has been a year for all of us. But this year I've realised just how people-powered I am by the sheer fact that I am still doing music in the midst of all of this. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you to every Patreon, every Do Crew member, which is Stageit, everybody on Twitter, any social media platform that you follow me on, anybody who has supported me in my music and even my book this year. It's just crazy that even in the midst of all that, you could still help me out and keep the me Janet Devlin ship afloat. So if you want to click out now because you can't be bothered to hear me talk about my year, fine, all grand, all gravy. But I just wanted you to know how grateful I am. So let's jump into my 2020. So as I'm sure you have noticed, I released an album and a book this year, and you'll have noticed because I just didn't shut up about it. And rightfully so, because it took me almost 6 years to put out this album. And as we were getting closer and closer to release date, the world was progressively getting more on fire. And I was like, oh, this is not good. And then I remember like postponing the release of the album thinking, oh sure, it'll be fine by the 5th of June. It was not fine by the 5th of June, in case you're wondering. But I got to that point where like me and my team, we all just decided like, go ahead, make the most of it. Nothing I've ever done in my career has ever really been to the blueprint that other people seem to be working at anyway. I do feel as an artist, I'm kind of on my own wee lane, just like don't look sideways, just running forward. So I took everything almost as like a challenge that I could work with. And let's face it, you're telling me I'm gonna release an album and not leave my house? Sick. But it was sad because it did mean that I couldn't go play gigs and I couldn't put on quirky wee nights and shows and things like that. But what I could do was make content from my bedroom. So that led me to trying to release obviously as much in relation to the album, but because of me dropping a book, I basically did little readings from every single chapter from my room. But a very scary thing, like I was always waiting on that like freedom moment that people talked about whenever they wrote a book and put it out there. And I got my freedom the minute I got my first tweet from somebody saying they'd read the book. Because if you don't know about the book, it was basically everything that I've been through in my life all wrapped up in one little thing, which is a great Christmas gift, by the way, in case you're wondering. But it was hard. It was my heart and soul, not only in the album, but my heart and soul in the book, because there's nothing closer than, you can't get closer to someone's internal monologue than their written dialogue, you know? So it was a scary moment, but the feedback from that has been so nice. The response I got from you guys was something that I could never have anticipated. I was welcomed with open arms for my honesty, for my vulnerability, and it's just really shown me this whole project, this whole album, because all I wanted to do was to be honest, was to be myself and just ride that wave through criticisms, critiques and comments. And I just was not expecting, to just be met with so much love. So thank you so much for that. And it was more than an album, it was more than a book, because it was my life wrapped up. So thank you so much to everybody who bought that, purchased that, and I don't know, shouted about it as loud as I was shouting about it, because I was just so impressed with everybody and their support and them trying to plug it out to their friends and stuff. So just thank you so much for that. It was a wild ride. And even just something else, like I managed to make like 6 music videos, which is crazy. Dude, it was like, this time last year, I was semi-naked, covered in gold paint, running around the YouTube space, which was weird and bizarre, and that was for Honest Men. We did Saint of the Sinners, we did Better Now, we did Away with the Fairies as well. Like, it's been mental. So it's been phenomenal to watch things go from little ideas on a sheet of paper into an actual music video and being able to sit back and watch them. And as far as the visuals are concerned as well, like, you know, those Emma Jane photo shoots, turning into such amazing artwork, you know, like being able to hold a vinyl and like pull out the images and just flick through there's something amazing about that, just being tactile, and makes it all real, I suppose. So that is definitely a highlight of my 2020. So a big part of my year, as every year for the past 6 years, has been my online gigs, which up until this year, nobody knew about. Like, nobody really knew what an online gig was, but here we are. It's been so amazing to welcome so many new people to the Dukery, because if you've never been to that side of the internet, it is the most loving, kind group of people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting in all my life. And I think Stageit to me has always been a big thing, but this year in particular, with the whole not being a social human being whatsoever, the fact that I could have a few hours of, like, I mean, during the midst of it, we didn't even say the C word on the shows. It was literally an hour and a half in one show where we would just forget about everything that was going on, and I think I really needed that. I genuinely did. So this year it meant even more to me that I had that community. And yeah, it's just so nice to see so many new faces get involved so quickly, you know, so much so we made more merch this year for the Dukery and things like that, which is, it's fun because it feels like its own little space, and it is my safe space. So thank you guys. So I cannot speak about online communities if I do not mention Patreon, because quite honestly, something that started off as me being like, no one's going to care, no one's going to want to sign up, blah, 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 to it being what it is now is crazy. And I know I don't speak about it enough. And I know even my Patreons are on my back because I don't plug it enough, because they're like, hey, we really love the content, we really like what you're doing, why don't you speak about it? And I'm like, I think this year, deep down, the reason why I wasn't plugging it maybe as much as I should have is because, you know, I had so many things on with the whole album and the book thing and the release schedule of all that. And deep down, you're like, I want to make more content. I just can't right now with my schedule commitments and things like that. So for me next year, I'm really going to put, even more effort into my Patreon online community. So that'll be a thing. But this year, I want to say thank you to everybody who joined, subscribed, stayed, even though I haven't jumped out of an airplane yet. That will be happening, but I think the good Lord was like, hey, 2020 has already been mental. Do you really want to jump out of an airplane right now? Because it just kept getting postponed. So that'll be next year. But I think for me, what really hit home is the fact that, you know, for everyone this year, no one really knows where their next paycheck is coming from, because the pandemic has done that. Like, and the fact that in and amidst all of that insecurity, people have signed up or stayed signed up to my Patreon has been crazy. Like, people are just like, hey, I like what you do enough to still be a subscriber here on Patreon, is mental. And I really don't have the vocabulary to say thanks enough for that, because it has helped so much with the project, with keeping everything going this year, and to be honest, keeping food on my plate. So just a massive thank you to everyone on Patreon. Here's to next year where we make even more content. So obviously 2020 does include my personal life. I'm not going to go into the dark stuff. If you wanted to know all the ups and downs and ins and outs, you should just go to Stageit, because apparently I just spill my tea there all the time. But a lot of fun things have happened. Like, a lot of good stuff has happened. I managed to pass my driving theory exam. That's fun. I booked in my actual driving test a million times. Also kept getting postponed. Did I print that on a calendar? Yes. Did the exam even go ahead? No, it did not. I think the theory test was funny because the first time in my life since being 16 years old, I had to do a test, and that was petrifying. It's a weird feeling to have to revise as an adult. A lot of things as well, you know, being somebody who's in recovery. Mental health is something I'm very used to talking about, as I'm sure you can tell here on this channel. But it was something that was in the forefront of my mind because it was something I had to take even more seriously than I usually do. I ended up at one point To explain this, as a drinker, I used to drink in my bedroom on my own when I was isolating before isolating was cool. That's how I did my drinking, on my own in my bedroom. So when lockdown happened, I'd moved back to London and, you know, set it up again. And it was that phase where I couldn't really leave the house. You weren't allowed to leave the house. You were allowed to leave the house once a day. And I got to a place of just, I really wanted to drink. Like, there's no two ways about it. I really wanted to drink. But instead of drinking, I was able to go to more therapy, and I was able to attend online meetings. And the therapy thing, going twice a week for, I think it was a month or two, wouldn't have been possible without people being supportive of like buying my album or buying my music or supporting me on Patreon and Stageit and all that kind of stuff. It wouldn't have been possible for me to financially afford that. So I do really mean it when I say that you guys have changed my life, because that was a really testing time for me. But you guys helped me come through that, really. So just thank you isn't enough for that, because it's something that, you know, is a big part of my life, being sober. On a fun note, you know, and I got to film the music video for Better Now as well. Like, I got to go to Ireland, so I got to see my dog. I got to meet my niece Eiley, who was born in the middle of lockdown. And did I cry? Yes, because she's adorable. And like, I have a photo of like myself holding Eiley whilst Bean is like sat beside me, and I just like can't explain just that little moment in time, just getting to be around my loved ones again after the period of time that I was in. But also, yeah, going to see some horses, dude. Like, horses are a big part of my life and always have been a big part of my life. And I was the crazy horse girl in school, and you know it, and that's fine, and I'm okay with it now. But that was a fun thing as well. So just getting to have that space and time to go back whenever we were allowed to go back. Do you remember those days? What a time to be alive. So what else? Jeez, there's so much that went on. I think working out has been a big part of my life since really recovering from my schmeeting schmishmortar. It's become a good thing for me. It helps me process any of my issues. For me, it is like my hour or whatever to like stick on my headphones, put on some heavy metal, and lift heavy things. Which I don't really look like somebody who'd be into that, but for me, really good fun. I very much enjoy it. So I got to go to CrossFit again. I did that for a few months. And now I'm just kind of just casually working out as I go along, but I find a thing that helps me process my life, and I really enjoy it, and it's been a big part of my 2020 as well. I don't miss running. I hated it during the summer when the gyms closed, where I had to just go for runs and jump on park benches and do burpees in the grass. It was not fun. I don't recommend it. So to anyone who's able to do that on a daily basis, more power to you. It's not for me. So yeah, it's been an odd one. It's been an odd one, but it's been great. And I definitely feel like because of the environment of lockdown and being in my own company for so long, I learned a lot about myself. I made so many leaps and bounds in therapy that I honestly think would have taken me years to uncover. But I think, you know, that forcing myself to be on my own with myself, you know, made me see a lot of things that I would have taken a long time to learn. And one random one before I bore you with my personal life, I also relearned the joy of like putting on a nice pair of headphones, lying on the ground, and just listening to an album start to finish. Oh my gosh, why don't we do that anymore? Because it was honestly, at the end of my working day or whenever I was on my lunch break, I would just lie on the ground and listen to an album. Phenomenal. One last thing, Chris Stapleton dropped a new album, so 2020 was good, and John Frusciante joined the Chili Peppers again, so it's been great. So that is about all I can think of right now. I'm sure you guys will let me know what I've forgotten about in the comments below. But I would really want to know what your highlights of 2020 were, because, you know, I want to have a little smile, because I know it's been a hard year, but like, babies were born and stuff, dude, which is super cool. So just let me know what your highlights were as well. I think a big thing for me now is just working towards next year and all of the things I want to achieve, because I achieved so much this year that I'm just so proud of, especially in the midst of everything that we went through. So to look forward to next year is something I'm really excited for. You know, like doing a tour. I'm really excited for that. I'll actually be able to thank you guys in person, and all things being well, I'll be able to like get hugs and stuff, and we'll be able to take photos and actually have a proper hangout again, like the good old days. I need the serotonin because I'm used to that. I'm used to getting hugs from you guys and being like, you're doing a good job, and I'm like, thank you. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to post some more content on the YouTube channel as well, because you know, we were in release mode, which meant that I was posting a lot about the album and the book, and I've definitely heard a lot of people, you know, missing my old content where I would, you know, just be mental for like 10 minutes. So there will be more of that as well. So just thank you so much for just making this year another amazing year against all odds. You guys made it an amazing year for me, so thank you so much, and I hope you have an amazing next year too, and a happy holiday season. So thank you. Bye.